Right? Oh, you good dog. You good dog. Okay, I think it's going. Looks like it is. Okay, folks, let's do this. Welcome to Houston with a Problem. We got ourselves a little Friday afternoon show. I can only do about 90 minutes today, and then I got to bail. But right off the bat, yesterday we saw a sudden collapse in ape prices in AMC, and a lot of people are asking, what has happened? It's because Adam Aaron took the brakes off of the hedge funds he sold ape to. So remember in December, he sold about 300 million shares of ape directly to a bunch of hedge funds via dark pool at below market prices. And part of it was you cannot sell these shares for 90 days. And you have to promise you're going to vote the way I want for the combination of the two tickers, AMC and APE, and then the reverse split from 10 shares to 1. And everyone's like, okay, this is sketchy, but they can't sell for 90 days. Well, yesterday they waived that, and they can now sell all the shares they want, and the price went. So, oops. I don't know. I don't know why. Why did he allow them to do that? It seems that they bought in at between 57 and 66 cents a share, and they can now quintuple their money, and they're like, peace. So they turned $300 million into like 1.5 billion, and they're cool. They're out. So there you have it, folks. That's just how it seems to roll, and it really just keeps doing exactly what I think he's going to do, and then everyone's like, no, 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 have trust, have faith, and then he just does it again and again and again. Monkey Butt, you've been here to witness all of it, right? Yeah, you know, she knows. Look at her. That is the face of knowledge right there. That's what that is. Yeah. Okay, off. Okay, in other news, one of our listeners, Joey, aka Guy Man Dude, he lives in Australia. He just recently got diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer and can't work and needs help living. So today's sponsor is his GoFundMe. You can see it here. It's also in a link in the description. So I know I've been asking a lot of you guys recently. We've done 2 charity shows in the last week, and we raised a bunch of money, and now one of our own needs some help. So feel free to help him out and try to live. It's a pretty bad prognosis, but surgeries and recoveries and chemo and radiation and everything else. So help a brother out. That's what I say. Also, I want to thank Rosa for stopping by in the chat the other day when we went through her filings. It was fantastic. She is just an excellent author when it comes to those things. Just brilliantly written, straight to the point, doesn't pull any punches. I love it. And anything else I should add on that, monkey? No? Okay. Oh, another weird thing. Torchlight is trading again. So if you go to make sure I get this right. Oh, wait. 1 second. I might have gotten the ye old. Oops, not that one. I typed in the wrong address here. Okay. 'Cause, 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 Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, that's what I did wrong. I forgot to put that one thing in here. Sorry, one sec. As I fool around and try to... There it is. Okay. Check this out. There we go. This is on Robinhood. If you go to your Robinhood browser, you type in robinhood.com/stock/torch, TRCH, you'll see that today, Torch is trading. Not only is it trading, the price is changing. If you look at 1 week, all of a sudden, nothing. Today, boom, price changes. 1 month, nothing. All of a sudden, there's a price. 3 months. Come on, load up. 5 year. Here we go. Normal torch. Jumps up to its peak before the merger. This is June 18th, 2021, and then adopts the metamaterial price. And then today is at 83 cents. It's no longer active on Robinhood, but for some reason the prices start updating. Weird. Right? Very weird. So, make of that what you will. Apparently that ticker never got deleted, huh? FINRA? Well, Lost Waves still wants to watch Pick a Destiny. I've not had a chance to watch Pick a Destiny. I'll get there eventually. It's on the list. It's 2 hours I haven't been able to carve out yet. There's Lost Waves saying, why is Torchless on Robinhood and the price changing? You got me, man. Some people are saying it's tied directly to MMAP, but I don't know. Okay. People discussing that. Oh, crap. Quit resetting, chat. I just want to try to read something without you just popping me all the way to the bottom again. Okay. Okay. People still discussing the Robinhood thing. Sorry, trying to scroll through that. It's taken a while. A lot of first chats in there. Chris Collins, FINRA's first tweet got like 1,500 responses. Then the very next day, volume started dropping. People got bored easily. Yeah, it's true. Chris Collins also says, in reality, though, I think FINRA will only act if they are forced to. The court cases are the best option. Who knows? We just need to make noise on every channel available. Emails, Twitter, calls. Yeah. Like I said, be annoying. Keep being annoying. Keep bugging them. Yell, scream, shake a fist, phone call, email, letters in the mail. Just be relentless. Don't stop talking about it. Because the more you talk about it, the more they're just going to go, oh my God, let's just fucking end this thing. Let's just make it so these animals can finally just, leave us alone, right? There you go, monkey. Sorry, I'm not quite centered on you. That's better. That's better? Yeah. You're such a good little dog. You are. You just sit there like a little bump on a log, waiting for somebody to hear that crinkle sound when I get the stuff for you, right? Okay. Bill Cohen Houston during daylight. What's up with that? You got me, man. I got contacted by a finance journalist, a market journalist from New York Times, and so we're messaging. He wants to do a phone call, I think, on Monday, so that's kind of cool. And if you guys haven't seen it, also trying to remember all the things I was supposed to talk about today. I did another interview with Josh Hamilton from The Gist. If you don't remember him, he is the first person to have me on their podcast during this whole thing, and then people made a bunch of like music videos out of me. It was really weird, and then spread them all over Reddit. Anyway, we did a chat a couple weeks ago, and then he went skiing. I didn't get it up until yesterday, so it's up in there in the community section on the YouTube channel. There's a link. There's a link to it. All right, 88 Red Mustang GT. Is MOAS still a possibility? Yeah, that's what we're here for. We're just twiddling our thumbs, killing time. That's a large part of life is just killing time, man. Lindsay Eamon, wow, an early show on my birthday. I'm a lucky girl. Happy birthday, Lindsay. There you go. Web twerp, let's go. How about that awesome human being, Rosa? Yes, Rosa is an awesome human being. Baritarian, Houston. Last year I called it Adam Aaron as a trash bag. Dude cannot be trusted. I got a large amount of shit for it, but I sold AMC at high and went the GME 100%. That's, I think, what several people did. He just keeps doing the exact thing that helps hedge funds and hurts us. I just don't get it. Like, I understand the need to take care of the debt. Totally get that. There's gonna have to be dilution in there. Totally understand. But why do you keep diluting to hedge funds? And why do you keep giving them the advantage over you? That's the stuff I don't understand. Like, you have a rabid fan base, loyal shareholders who will gladly open up their checkbook and buy more from you if it meant they got to benefit from it. I just don't understand. Like, it's like he goes through his Rolodex and he's like, oh, well, I know that guy. I'll call him. Rather than just be like, hey, we're going to offer at market and we're going to sell this much. And there you go. Like, he could have raised $300 million or whatever selling to us. He could have raised $3 billion selling to us if he just sold when it was $10 a share. Like, if you're not going to do the T90 thing and wait until they're forced to cover, then why didn't you just sell at the beginning when the price was insanely high and you had the opportunity to do so? Why'd you wait 4 months and then sell to a hedge fund at 58 cents? I just don't get it. Like, if you had sold 300 million shares at $10, that's $3 billion. It would all been taken care of by now. Just, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay. Cheshire K. Houston is monkey but a rescue dog, and where's the cat? What's the cat's name? The cat is Chalupa Batman, and monkey is a rescue. You are. So she was found in the jungles of the Big Island of Hawaii in spring 2016 as a puppy. She was maybe 8 months old or so. And Alaska Airlines has a charity program where they will fly rescue animals to non-kill shelters all over the U.S. for free. And so she flew here to Seattle, ended up at the Kitsap County Humane Society. And I was looking for a dog at the time, and she was the only one that wasn't a pit bull or a chihuahua who had come from that plane in Hawaii. I was like, that's a cool looking dog. So I went to the Humane Society. And I was like, I would like to look at this dog. Like, well, it's 4 p.m. and our adoption counselors are gone. You can look at the dog, but you can't adopt it. I was like, oh, shit. So I looked at the dog and went up to her cage. She had a big gold cone on her head because she had just been spayed, really skinny. And just like, oh. I stuck my finger in the cage and she like grabbed my finger, right? You don't do that anymore. I can put my finger in next to you, you won't grab it. It'll just sit there. You just smell my finger, that's all you'll do. I was like, cool dog, I'll get this one. And so the next day they opened really early. And so I raced there and I waited in the parking lot like 15 minutes. Waiting, like, I'm gonna get this dog before anyone else can get this dog because all the other dogs there are trash. And went in, told them I want this dog, and they said, okay, got to meet with the adoption counselor. And out came this like child. She was maybe 18, and so I had a house at the time. I was living in what we called the Charles Mansion. It was a giant mansion that had beautiful views, not a very big yard, and but didn't have a fenced yard. And but you know, like I do my geology work. I'm out in the woods all the time, and she was like, I can't let you have this dog. I was like, what do you mean you can't let me have this dog? Like, it's like, well, you know, you don't have a fenced yard, and we require a fenced yard, and all these things. And I finally had to like pull the seniority card, and I said, young lady, I've had dogs older than you. I am old enough to run for president of the United States. You're telling me I can't adopt a dog because I don't have a fence around my yard? I want to talk to your manager. So I Karen'd her right there. And so the manager came out. I mean, we're in this like cage. We're saying monkey butt. At the time, her name was Merle. Because she has a Merle coat and she was from Hawaii. Way. That's a dumb name. You did not deserve that name. And she's like, you know, pouncing around the 9-month-old puppy. She'd have a great time. They're trying to explain to me that Monkey Butt's actually 3 years old and not a puppy. And I was like, this dog is a puppy. And that she would kill all the dogs she saw. She would kill children. She would kill cats. There's no way to get her under voice control. She's just a monster that grew up in the forest and had no parenting whatsoever. Meanwhile, past our cage is this little like Bichon Frise, this little fuzzy white dog walks by. Monkey's like, hi. It's like trying to like lick this dog through the cage. I'm like, this is the dog that's going to kill every creature that she sees. Like, yes. And so finally I said, you know what? If she ends up not being under voice control in like a week and being a complete terror, I will admit that I was wrong and you can have her back. And the lady's like, well, if she ever runs away and gets picked up, you can't have her back at all. I was like, that's not how it works. But anyway, let me adopt the dog. And finally, after like a 3-hour negotiation, they let me have Monkey Butt, who has just been an absolute pleasure, right? He's an absolute pleasure, a charmer, a sweetheart. Even though you were constantly bored when you're on the show, and she was under voice control in like 5 days. Took a little while to house train because she didn't quite understand the whole not being able to go wherever you want thing. Like literally, first night I have her, I like, hey, you can hop up on the bed, sleep with the Mikasa is Sukasa. She hops up on the bed and immediately just pisses. She's like staring right at me, just whiz. Like, no! Have to shove her nose in it. She's like, whoa, can't piss on that thing. Okay. Next time she pisses, it's at the foot of the bed. I'm like, no! And I rub her face on the floor at the bottom of the bed. And she's like, okay, I can't do it in this room. Maybe if I do it in the bathroom? I'm like, nope, rub the face in it. Okay, I can't do it in the bathroom. Hallway? Nope, rub it in the hallway. How about down the foyer? Nope, not the foyer. Living room? Nope. And finally, I was like, oh, I cured her. She is no longer trying to whiz in the house anymore. We're cool. We're fixed. Everything's good, right? And then, like a week later, I go to do laundry. And, like, the way the house is set up, there's my bedroom's upstairs. You go through this, like, hallway, living room. You come back around downstairs. And so it's like a quarter-mile walk to get to the laundry room. And the laundry room has a counter that kind of wraps around, and then the washer and dryer. It's like there's space under the counter, and she'd been just like picking that corner to just drop everything she had in her. It was it was like that scene in Jurassic Park when they've got like the mountain of Triceratops turds. It was like that. She'd just be like, oh, I can't go elsewhere in the house, but no one's shoved my nose in it here yet. And I shoved your nose in it, and that was the last time ever you went in the house. She was like, oh, I can't go anywhere in this house? And you were fixed. Yay! To the point where when other animals, roommates have brought animals or whatever, and they've gone in the house, she punishes them. She's very good at that, aren't you? Yeah. Oh, you're such a good little dog. Yes, you are, Monkey. So, that's the story of adopting Monkey. Okay. And Chalupa Batman is in the other room, I believe. Should I go get him? Do you guys want a Chalupa Batman? I think he's sleeping, but can we grab him, Monkey? We'll grab him. Right there. Are you in here, buddy? Oh, never mind. He's not there. Oh, he's right there. He's eating food. Okay. he's he's visiting with a roommate. Roommate has snacks for him. He's in with the roommate. So maybe a little later he'll come by. He's just munching up. Okay. Andrew Stewart Houston, what's up with Finra making stupid tweets? They probably hired some 22-year-old fresh out of school to be their media manager, and they have no idea what they've gotten themselves into. They're probably like, what is going on? They didn't tell me it was going to be like this when I finished my marketing degree. And they don't know. I just want to make TikToks. Instead, I'm getting yelled at by a bunch of weirdos about this MMTLP thing. That's my guess, Andrew. Christopher Bursaw, what will you say if Amy goes to the moon? I was wrong, I guess. Carl Elite, could AA give us a free movie ticket per share dividend? This would cause shorts to buy tickets off AMC and we could pay off the debt. No. AMC is not legally allowed to offer a dividend until they clear up their debt and have some profitable quarters. So they can't offer a dividend of any kind. So they got to clear up their debt first before they can do that. I mean, they can theoretically if they can clear up their debt. And then they got to have a quarter or two of profit. It's because they're registered in like Kansas or something. And because of that registration, there are certain laws about how dividends can be offered by a company. And if you're in debt, you can't do that. Legacy 10 Productions, Houston. Will we on the West Coast see collapsing buildings like in Turkey during a shallow earthquake? Even with the advancements in retrofitting, are we toast? Fish was a mattress. Yes. It won't be on the same scale, but we will see it. Yeah. So, okay. And I will use the best examples I know, which is Seattle. So, gotta leave where we were in Mexico here. Keep scrolling out. Go north, my friend. Okay. So, the Seattle fault, which is like the shallow quake fault, like what they had in Turkey. It's hard to see the Seattle fault here, but it runs basically through this property here. I can bring up a satellite photo of it or a lidar photo. One sec. I gotta go. Lidar, Bainbridge, Island. Images. Okay, here we go. So the toe jam fault, which is the Seattle fault, you can oops, come back. Here we go. So you can see this little fault line here that goes across the island. It's a little hard to see probably on your screen, but this is the Seattle fault coming to the surface here, and I lived a little bit north of here for a while. And we had several quakes in like 2016 that were deep on this fault. So not the surface part of the fault, but like 15 miles down. The whole series, like 1,000 quakes, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, is Seattle fault gonna go?" And then it didn't. But if we go back to the Google Earth, okay, go back to the Google Earth here. Oh, sorry, the toe jam fault was on this. I was looking at the wrong part. Toe jam fault goes basically through right about here, and it starts. The fault line itself starts under the Olympic Mountains, runs like under Bainbridge Island. Part of it surfaces at Blakely Rock here, which is this little rock that's just off the island. Runs under the island, under downtown Seattle, right underneath Lumen Field, which is where the Seahawks play, and under Lake Washington, out into the Cascade Mountains out here. And it's a pretty long fault. Most of it's at the surface. And the last time it went probably between a 7.5 and an 8.0. And the damage it caused about 900 years ago, the damage it caused was absolutely catastrophic. We are talking. We had a landslide from Newcastle. So this is a hill here in Newcastle. It's, I don't know, about 1,000 feet tall. There was a landslide where the entire slope gave way and everything kind of like the slope just kind of like turned and just all the trees are upright and everything. Hit Lake Washington, caused a 600-foot tsunami inside of Lake Washington, mega tsunami. And you can go into Lake Washington and the bottom of the lake is fairly anoxic, like not too much oxygen. So everything's fairly well preserved. And 600 feet down the bottom of the lake, because it's a really deep lake, you can find upright trees still, completely petrified from 900 years ago. During that event, the south end of Bainbridge Island here was uplifted about 30 to 60 feet out of the water. And where the really, really, really rich people are, the country club here, Restoration Point, it's like all old Weyerhaeuser money, Nordstrom money, whatever. This sucker was underwater, popped up out. This caused a giant tsunami throughout all of Puget Sound, wiping out shorelines, just killing probably native tribes, all sorts of stuff 900 years ago. Absolutely brutal. Okay, so we know that huge actions can happen from the fault itself, as you know, these workings happen. But in a modern age, we have a lot of buildings that are built extremely well to handle big shakes. One of the first modern buildings to be built with this in mind was the Space Needle. Space Needle itself, 605 feet tall. Its center of gravity is 3/4 of an inch off the ground. So it's supposed to be able to handle a gigantic quake. It'd be like one of those, weighted boxing dummies that you punch and goes, whoop, and it pops right back up again. That's the way that the center of gravity works on the Space Needle. Cool, modern, whatever. And then the Columbia Center, which is the tallest building in Seattle. This one here, we'll do a relief of the Columbia Center for us? No, it won't. But it is 954 feet tall, 946 feet tall, 76 stories, whatever it is, almost 1,000 feet tall. It was built in 1984, and every fourth floor is on a set of wheels, so that if there's a massive quake, the building, rather than getting this incredible torsion on the base, just goes chunka, 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 chunka. These things are awesome, and a lot of modern buildings are built with all these little gimmicks and devices in there to handle super big quakes. The problem is areas like Pioneer Square, which is sort of an older preserved part of town. The International District is our Chinatown. And these are all like brick masonry buildings. And the whole reason these things are brick masonry buildings was that when Seattle was founded, we were a mud people. Like this was all like tidewater, mud, grossness, just slop. They put some posts in the ground and build over it because it was where cheap poor people would go. And a lot of the hills, Seattle's built on seven pretty giant hills that are several hundred feet tall each. And a lot of them were kind of impassable, had really steep grades. And so what they did was they did what were called regrades. They just took giant shovels and just got rid of the hills. And they've used hoses and they hosed the entire hill down into the bay. And so a lot of downtown Seattle, the seawall, this was all tidelands. This was all filled in with diggings from like Beacon Hill. They got rid of Denny Hill entirely. So where Amazon is based out here in South Lake Union, this was a giant hill. They just got rid of the whole hill. It's gone. It's basically just sea level across that entire hill. And they took that dirt and they made the seawall. They filled all this in. They made Harbor Island, which was at one time the largest man-made island in the entire world. It was since passed by the Tokyo airport, which has been since passed by the Palm Islands in Dubai. And they filled all this in with a whole bunch of jiggly sand and sawdust because the Yesler mill was here. Remember, Seattle was all like timber. People just logged timber and then sent the timber to places. And in 1889, June 6, 89, I think, there's a Great Seattle Fire, and Seattle just burned down. All these beautiful wood buildings and scummy wood buildings all just burned to the ground. It was like 1,200 buildings gone. And so Seattle introduced, you can no longer build buildings with wood. You have to build buildings with masonry, stuff that's fireproof. And so this whole old area of downtown Seattle, built since 1889, is all brick. and all that unreinforced masonry likes to fall apart during huge earthquakes. And Seattle's done a pretty good job retrofitting all these buildings. There was a lot of grants offered after the Nisqually quake in 2001 because a lot of the facades just crashed and crushed cars and almost killed people and stuff. So now they run these incredibly long torsion bars through the buildings and hold the buildings together, like tighten them up. So if you look at these brick buildings, you can see these like circular disc plates with big nuts. And that's because there's a cable or a bar that runs through the length of the entire building, holding it together to keep it from swaying back and forth. And for the most part, you go through Seattle, you'll see almost every building now has had that done. The problem is you get to Portland, down here in the south, where they've not had a big quake in a long time. They have like 1,600 buildings that have not been retrofitted at all in their downtown area. And so they've got, if a huge subduction zone quake happens, you're looking at probably 1,000 buildings completely leveled, just like in Turkey. They're going to be older buildings. They're going to be buildings built probably between 1880 and 1950. In Turkey, the big problem was that while there were zoning regulations and building codes, those were never enforced. And the code enforcers oftentimes get bribed or just paid to look the other way, whatever. And those buildings all just collapsed because they weren't built to code, because it's cheaper to just build something, get someone in there and piss off, right? The thing about building codes is that they definitely change how a city will look. If we go here, we can go Taiwan quake 1999 images. Okay, so in Taiwan, we had tons of buildings. So Taipei had this huge earthquake in 1999. Tons of buildings, just the first floor would collapse and the building would tip over on its side. And so many of these buildings just tipped over on their side. Just building after building after building after building, tipped over, tipped over, tipped over. Completely fell on its side, tipped over, tipped over, tipped over. And like huge modern buildings. These things were not old construction. Like these are a pretty modern building. And they just fell over, just like timber, building after building after building after building. And what the Taiwanese learned was that their building codes needed to have stricter rules for the ground floor. So a big thing that the buildings in Taiwan had were these huge, large grand lobbies. And so the floor plan would be very open, maybe with a few posts and pillars supporting the rest of the building. But there's no shear strength. There was no walls connecting everything together because you wanted this big, open, grand, welcome to my building type entry. And when the earthquake happened, it went chunk, 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 chunk of collapse and just snapped those little pilings that the building was on. The whole thing would just tip over and fall. And so what they've learned is you can't have a very grand lobby in these buildings without creating something like walls between them to shore up any shear problems that might happen. And so since then, Taiwan has rebuilt. They built with new building codes to handle these earthquakes. In Kyoto 95? Kyoto quake 1995. You can see the same problem not having torsion strength when like these elevated highways tip over, because you're just on a spindly little thing and gets one snap, punk, the weight throws it the other way. Another problem with a lot of buildings, see if we can find a good picture here. Okay, so you can see these terracotta roofs, these tiles on these old style terracotta roofs. They're beautiful, they're classic. The problem is that with timber construction, you're putting like thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pounds of weight above your timber construction. So if there's any side-to-side jiggling, that weight gets thrown around, the leverage on that post snaps, and the whole building collapses. And so there's now rules in Japan about what type of strength your wood construction has to be able to have these beautiful terracotta roofs. And tons and tons and tons of these older homes with these beautiful terracotta shingles all collapsed basically due to that exact result, is that weight was getting thrown around back and forth and just snapped and collapsed. So going back to the Northwest, we've got these surface faults that run everywhere. And when these surface faults go, we talked about the show the other day during the charity show for Turkey, is when the earthquake's at the surface, you feel it so much. The 7.0 or 6.9, whatever it was, we had the Nisqually quake. So the Nisqually Delta is down here between Tacoma and Olympia. And the Nisqually quake was a 7 point something. It was 48 miles below the surface, and it destroyed buildings in Seattle, which is 37 miles away, right, from where the Nisqually quake was. And so you can think about it like 37 away, 48 down, do the hypotenuse of that triangle, and it's, quick math. How far away was that quake actually? Oh crap, I closed my calculator. Calculator. There we go. Come on. Turn off the Google Earth. Turn off the Chrome. Got the calculator. So 48 times 48 equals that. Plus 37 times 107 there. And then we got to do square root. Where's my square root function on here? Mod, trigonomic log. There is square root 60. So basically 60 miles away was that quake, if you look at it that way. And so, but in Turkey, the quake was 0 miles away because it was at the surface. And then if Seattle gets a Seattle fault quake like that, it'll be the same thing. It'll be the same strength right at the surface, and it will rumble for probably 2.5 minutes, and it'll be gnarly. The other big quake we're watching out for is a subduction zone quake, which we pointed out before. We have this tiny little remnant of an ancient oceanic plate called the Juan de Fuca plate. And there's a spreading ridge. This is a volcanic ridge that goes along here where the Earth is splitting open, trying to separate itself from the rest of the Pacific plate. But then as it does so, North America is moving over it and gobbling it up. And it's diving, it's the subduction zone right here where it's diving underneath the continent. And then where it gets remelted and turned into cascade volcanoes. This subduction zone here has not had a meaningful earthquake since January 26th, 1700. And there's a couple reasons why we know that. One is that there was what's called an orphan tsunami recorded in Japan on that date, on January 27th. So about 14 hours after the quake hit, a random tsunami just came and just wiped out all these villages along the Japanese coast. The Japanese were like, what the hell? Where'd that come from? Well, found out it came from here, from right along our coast. And we were able to match that. The scientists did some really cool stuff. So up here in Copalis Beach on the coast, in this estuary area are these dead forests. And these like white trees that kind of just stand up, and there's kind of boggy thing, and they're just dead. And what they found was all those trees died on the same day. So all along this coastline are these like weird dead trees that are found in certain spots. And when they dug down beneath the trees, they found a weird layer of muck. And they took that muck out and they carbon dated it, and it dated to 1700. And all the trees, you carbon date the trees themselves, they all died in the exact same day in 1700. And went, oh my gosh, that orphan tsunami in Japan was the same day all these trees died. All these trees died when the ocean flooded in from a giant tsunami and killed them all. So we know that was the last time we had a giant quake like that. Plus, you talk to tribal elders, they could say, oh yes, my great-great-great-grandfather would talk about how the earth rumbled for 10 minutes or whatever. And so there's oral history matching all that for the tribes in the Northwest. So a quake along this zone can be one of two kinds. It can be like a pinpointed location, and it'll rumble for 5 minutes at a 8.5 or something, which would be terrible. Or it can rip the entire length from north of Vancouver Island all the way to was it Mendocino or something here in California, and and it can rupture the entire length of this thing. Just go crack all the way down, and that could be upwards 10-15 minute long quake at a 9.0 to 9.5. That would cause localized tsunamis anywhere from 10 to 20 meters tall. Could run a mile or two inland, wipe out every community and coast, every community along the coast. It would send tsunamis across to Alaska, Aleutian Islands, Japan, Hawaii. It would be absolutely gnarly. And the shaking would be so long that just fatigue would set in for a lot of the sheer strength of buildings. And even if you are like Seattle's like 200 miles away from the 139 miles away from the subduction zone, and that thing would probably be about 10, 15 miles down, so 150 miles away. It would still rumble at the equivalent of probably a 7.0 for 5 to 15 minutes, and it would level a lot. It would take out bridges. It would take all sorts of things. And we're about due for a subduction zone quake. Looking at geologic record, they happen once every 250 to 300 years, and we're at 323 years as of this year since the last one of those. And of subduction zones, so you can see the subduction zones all over. There's like big long one along the Aleutians, along Kamchatka, Japan, down through Marianas Trench, and off the Philippines. We got big ones in Sumatra. We got ones off of Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, all the way down in South America, along Central America and South America. Every single solitary subduction zone here, off here, where we've got Dominican Republic and Haiti. We've had a subduction zone quake in every single solitary subduction zone since 2004, since the Indonesian tsunami, except here. We've had almost no budging whatsoever in 25 years. No quakes of any concern, nothing. And I think this thing is so locked that when it does go, it's going to rip the entire zone. It's going to be huge. Because normally you get, a little quake here, a little quake there, showing some sort of movement. But it's so locked up that like nothing's budged or moved, which means when that happens, right along the coast, you get all these little hills that get built. And if you ever make your way through Aberdeen and Hoquiam, if you drive out to the coast in Washington for some reason, as you enter Aberdeen, there's these hillsides right along the road that are ancient sand dunes, old beach sand dunes. You can kind of see them right here. There's this road cut into this kind of semi-lithified sand, and you can see what are probably tsunami events. You can see it right here. Look at this. Do you see these dark lines right here in the sand? These lines right here are very likely tsunami events that happened hundreds of years ago. And this sand dune isn't necessarily windswept sand. A lot of it is built up from the pressure of that plate diving underneath and wrinkling the coastline. And it's really crazy to look at. If you ever get a chance, like pull over the side of the road and just kind of stare at this guy as you come into Aberdeen. And you can see like the evidence of ancient tsunamis. There's probably several thousand years ago, a few hundred years after that, and so on. And as the ocean water comes in, just deposits a new layer of soil on this stuff. And you can see it from Google Earth. A Google satellite made a relief drawing and pinpointed, you can see the tsunami evidence over the years in this sandy hillside. That is cool. I love that. Oh man. That's blowing my mind that I can see that from Google Earth. So long story short, when the earthquake happens, when the subduction zone quake happens, Aberdeen's gone, Westport's gone, Ocean Shore's gone, Ocean Park's gone, Long Beach is gone, Astoria probably gone, all along Seaside, Manzanita, Rockaway Beach, a lot of these places, Tillamook Bay gone. A lot of these places, like you do have coastal range mountains that are very close to shore, so you want to run uphill as fast as you can. But if you are in Pacific City and you can't get to that hill fast enough, you're toast. There's nothing that's going to withstand the wall of water that's going to come in. It's going to wash all the way up these river valleys, probably get up to places like Beaver and further, and get stopped probably when they get into these canyons here. You'll find fishing boats dropped off 5 miles inland on these things. It's gonna be gnarly, and you're hoping if it does happen, it's gonna happen in the wintertime. Simply because people won't be on the shore as much. Like in the summer, people vacation down there and they're enjoying the beach, and there'll be 2, 3, 400,000 more people than during the winter. But like where I am on Bainbridge, we'll probably lose the ferry boat. We'll probably lose the bridge. The bridge was built in the 50s. It's a piece of trash. Our little tiny little spindly bridge here, like everything's cracked and rusted, and I bet it's got a D rating from the government. And then the ferry terminal will be gone, so we'll be trapped. We'll just be eating each other. That's the way it's going to go. So there you go. There's some earthquake stuff about the Northwest for you. I'm still blown away that I could see the lines from the tsunamis on Google Earth. That's awesome. Okay, I've totally missed things while I've been babbling and babbling and babbling. What did I miss? I missed pen name. Banks won't do margin calls. So what's the point? They won't voluntarily do margin calls. But if shit hits the fan, they may have no choice. They may just get the money sucked out of them anyway, because the banks might get margin called. So if that happens, then the Federal Reserve's got to do all its work. Don Caesar Shadem. Just joining now, do you think Google's AI blunder has pulled the plug on AI stock rally? They're all fizzling out, pull back, or everyone's done. I mean, it's a setback. I don't think it's a death nail, because all the AI does bad jobs. Someone just sent me a thread today about they got their first student paper written by ChatGPT, and he's like, the ChatGPT is so bad at what it does. Like, it can do certain things really, really well, but if you ask it to write a term paper about like a particular author, it seems to take authors who have similar last names and maybe not a first name attached to them and cobbles all that together. So you might ask them, oh, can you do a paper on Arthur Miller? And you end up with a whole bunch of stuff about Henry Miller, right? So there's easy ways to kind of spot these things at the moment, because if ChatGPT surfs the internet and finds a bunch of stuff on an author named Miller, then he's just going to take all the stuff from guys named Miller and throw them into one article. So you'll see all sorts of weird out of context things. So yeah. Oh, monkey, you want to show everyone a good side? Is that what you want to do? But the AI is scalable. I can't remember the exact number of neural connections it has now, but it's like, say 1 trillion, and you can just like put in a line of code and it'll automatically make that go from 1 trillion to 1 quadrillion with a couple lines of code. And so it's going to get more robust, and it's going to get deeper. It's going to get thinkier, and it's going to get better at what it does as it learns, which is pretty freaky. And eventually it'll turn to Skynet and decide that humans are the threat to Earth and destroy us all. So we look forward to that. Yay. Okay. All right. I spent like 30 minutes talking about earthquakes. Web twerp, yep. When a big overdue earthquake hits Seattle, say goodbye to a good chunk of downtown. Yeah. The other thing I forgot to talk about all that fill, because they dug out these hills and then put it down there, is that fill jiggles. Whereas if you're built on a solid rock, earth goes chunk, 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 and then ends. But if you are in fill between those solid rocks, it's like jello. So the earth goes chunk, 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 chunk. The rock stops, but the fill in between goes slurper, 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 and will keep jiggling for a significant period of time afterwards. And with that fill, you get liquefaction. So the sand turns into basically a liquid, because it's like having particles that move just like you do in water or anything else. And so everything will try to achieve its natural buoyancy. And so what happens is buildings sink into that stuff and get torn apart that way. You can look up liquefaction videos on YouTube. They're awesome. You can see cool ones. Like my favorite one I saw is they had 2 big glass jars. One, they put ping pong balls at the bottom filled with sand. The other, they filled with sand and put like metal ball bearings on top. And then they took like literally like a Hitachi vibrator and attached it to the jar, and all the sand goes bzzz, and the steel balls sunk and the ping pong balls floated. So it achieved its natural buoyancy. Once the particles start moving, everything wants to be buoyant. It's the entire premise behind like concrete vibrators and a lot of like gold classification systems. They have vibration tables to classify gold out of material because the heavy stuff will sink and the light stuff will float to the top. So that's what will happen in places like downtown Seattle that's made of sawdust and sand, is that everything will just sink. Okay. Drogo Fett. Can't read. Any thoughts on puts on Netflix for after the quarter report strike at like 250? Last time around, Netflix announced that they had gained viewers, right? I don't know if they'll have more viewers this time around because there's snafu when they said, well, we're going to punish you for sharing your passwords. And then they clawed that back in a hurry. If any of the people who quit Netflix will pop up on this report, because it was after the quarter ended. I do think it's safe to say that Netflix isn't doing so hot. That they canceled too many shows people wanted to watch, greenlit too many shows people don't want to watch, raised the prices too much. I think they played the pandemic poorly. Like they could have capitalized on that a lot more, but they just canceled too many shows. And a lot of people were like, "Well, I'm done." And they do a lot of big budget movies that never make it to the theater. So I don't see how, spending $100 million on an action film that never gets shown in a theater to get ticket prices is necessarily a good investment for a streaming service. Like you never saw ABC do $100 million film, right? And they've got advertising dollars to support them. The made-for-TV movies were shit. Let's face it, no made-for-TV movie ever felt like a giant cinematographic production. But a lot of these streamers are discovering like, oh, we just spent like $300 million on a Star Wars series. People seem to have enjoyed it, but not enough to make it worth spending $300 million on a Star Wars series. So I don't know how much longer we're going to see big budgets for a lot of these streaming services versus showing first on an advertised platform or in a theater and then coming back to their streaming service. But at this point, if you're going to do like puts on Netflix, you might just buy a put and buy a call, and whichever way it spins, you'll make money. Maybe not as much as if you YOLO'd on one way or the other, but probably not too bad. Hans Arles try this since the other form isn't working. Oh, you're having a hard time getting number coordinates in there? All right. This better not be friggin'... I can't remember what the... Why won't you... Grr. Highlight. Copy. There we go. Okay. We're going somewhere. If I see it going towards the Sahara Desert, I am out. Oh, nope. Going to Seattle. Sweet. We are going to... We're going to the square right here. We're going to the square. Nope. Should I timeline it? 85, okay. 94, okay. Oh, here we go. Got some 30 meter from 2005. 2009, okay. Still been cleared. Come on, give me some high res, baby. Okay, got logging road, got the little baby tree starting to grow. This is 10 years ago. Now it looks much more like a forest as of 2016. More forest. Now it looks almost like a mature forest at this time. And the road's almost gone. Okay, so why am I here? Hans, why am I here? Why am I here? 7V66. Maybe if I I go somewhere else. Maybe if I go like this, search. No, it's just taking me to random spots that are not associated. Hans, I don't think it's quite the entire coordinate you want. It's putting me in whatever the most recent township and range I'm in. Actually, not called township and range. Can't remember what it's called. Yeah, see, yeah, it's not. So the 7V66H7G, it's putting me in whatever coordinate system is closest that has those last digits. I don't know what's going on, Hans. Not a clue. Meow meow. Great Depression incoming? Wouldn't put it past us. I mean, we've done all sorts of things over the last 25 years to deregulate, and the whole point of all those regulations was to stave off an economic ruin. I mean, I personally think the two worst things Bill Clinton did his entire time in office. Number one was the 1996 Telecommunications Act, which allowed basically unfettered control of the media by anyone who wants it. Before, you were only allowed to own up to 8 television stations, and you couldn't have more than 2 in the same market. Newspapers could basically own 1 newspaper per city, and that was it. Billboards were controlled, and what happened was Clear Channel, Sinclair, Fisher Broadcasting, these broadcasting companies went out and bought everything. They bought competing stations, they shut them down, they did things, they politically motivated stuff. They crossed markets, and they owned TV stations and newspapers when they were allowed to own that before. They owned 100 radio stations in a single market. So you get things like Clear Channel and what's the iHeartRadio and all these like big massive companies forming. Clinton ruined media in the United States, and it was to his detriment. I mean, let's face it, they weren't too kind to him. And he rolled over and signed that 1996 Telecommunications Act and completely just effed us over. The other thing was when he signed the repeal of Glass-Steagall. Now, Glass-Steagall was a law that basically made it so that commercial banks couldn't act like investment banks, and they couldn't own each other. And now we've got commercial banks owning investment banks. You know, Bank of America owns Merrill Lynch. JP Morgan owns, Chase owns JP Morgan. Nomura owns what was Lehman Brothers, right? So we have these commercial banks now owning and acting like investment banks. And the reason why Glass-Steagall was created was because the problem with the 1929 crash largely stemmed from the fact that people would give their money to a bank for savings, checking, whatever, and the bank would take that money and go gamble it in the market. I'll buy a bunch of stocks. We're cool. And then the market collapsed and no one had their money anymore. So Glass-Steagall was passed to be like, no. If you are a savings bank, you are a savings bank. What you can do is you can give out money as loans. You can do credit cards. You can do car loans. You can do home loans. But you can't take that money and put it into the stock market. And in 1999, Bill Clinton signed the repeal of Glass-Steagall, and we got the 2008 financial crisis, a large part of it. And we still haven't repealed it. We still have these giant banks consolidating and getting even bigger. Now Umpqua and Columbia Bank are combining. These were small regional banks up until the 2008 financial crisis, and then they gobbled up all the other small regional banks, and now they're becoming behemoths, and they've become a sizable bank as a result of it. Umpqua Bank has been busted 3 times in the last year for fronting Ponzi schemes and not doing due diligence. Lost people billions of dollars in these Ponzi schemes. And now they're being allowed to merge with another bank and be an even bigger problem. So, you know, and it didn't help that ensuing administrations didn't do their due diligence and stop the amalgamation from there. I mean, Bill Clinton wanted to see more home ownership. I get it. Everyone wants to see more home ownership. So he allowed adjustable rate mortgages to be up to 5% of the market. So the other 95% had to be fixed rate mortgages. 5% could be adjustable rate for people that had, you know, maybe not the best credit to get them in to buy a home. And in 2004, George Bush raised that to 20%. And then 2006, he said unlimited. And 2006 became, hey, why take that fixed rate mortgage for a home when you can have this fancy adjustable rate mortgage with a huge introductory offer and interest rates only like a 1% right now? We can get you into this home you can't afford because it's $1 million home, and you don't qualify for it because we're not going to look at all at what you earn. And then 2 years later, all those mortgages reset and everyone lost their houses. So there's a reason. There's a reason why these regulations are put into place. And the reason to remove those regulations is to make a quick buck and then ruin everything all over again. When someone says to you like, "Oh, I gotta deregulate," just go fuck you. No, what we need strict regulations, and we need to adhere to those and make sure they don't change. Because oftentimes the thing is like, well, we haven't had a depression in 70 years, so let's just remove all the laws because we don't need them anymore, right? Why have Glass-Steagall when we haven't had a depression? And then 7 years later, you've got the largest economic collapse since the Great Depression. I wonder why possibly we could have had Glass-Steagall in place and not have a depression for 70 years. And then you remove it in 7 years, we get essentially a depression. Yeah, man. So that whole blue dog Democrat, let's deregulate things like Republican stuff, just didn't work out for the economy. Don't do that. Just regulate and enforce those regulations. Okay, I got 26 minutes. I can go until 4:30 my time, and then I've got to bail for the day. Monkey butt, you holding down the fort? Okay. All right. Okay. The chat just reset on me again. That's annoying. Where was I? That's what happens when I get so far behind. Legacy 10 production. Say, for instance, we have held onto a stock called Acme Parent Company. Is this still a sound long-term hold? Will we ever see above $6 ever again? Not financial advice. Happy birthday. I mean, they're still projected. I mean, hypothetically, they'd be projected to be a $10 billion year company soon. They're still in the startup phase, and long term, I like it. Quiet Quest MMTLP news. None. I mean, beyond Rose's filing the other day and the fact that Torchlight appears to be trading on Robinhood. None. No, nothing new at the moment. Nothing new, Quiet Quest. Drew, kind of weird the CEO of OTC Markets came out and started explaining everything. Was he low-key whistleblowing to all of us, or do you think it was pride and he didn't learn to shut up? I think there's a mixture of the two. He's also like under oath saying that OTC stocks aren't shorted as much as real stocks, as not real stocks, as main exchange stocks like NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange because they got options and stuff. But we know that's not true. We know that these things get seller boxed and just pushed into a hole. And the chance of an OTC company moving up to a main exchange is really, really small. So I think he did good for us. Like Rosa quoted him right off the bat in her filing, saying, "Hey, he admits there's shorts. He admits that the only way to clear this up is by trading. So let's clear this up." But the way that the CEO of OTC, Cromwell Coulson, went about it was pretty much like, no, not my fault. I had nothing to do with that. But it was on your exchange, bud. Right? Like, you're the president of the exchange. You've got some regulatory capacity. Why do you let this happen? Why don't you change that? Plus, your name is Cromwell. Okay. It sure looks like Quartet's finest, and I like it. I do feel like I should be in some sort of like either Dixieland band or a acapella group. Me. Scott Chocolate says Torch's metamaterial, same price. Okay, that's what someone else said. Then someone else said that it wasn't quite trading exactly the same way, which is weird. Like, why do you even list it? Why have that on there? And why suddenly this week did it turn on? Of all weeks, it's very weird. Zankar, Houston FINRA said they are waiting for SEC instructions. So, what possible announcement could they be making if nothing from the SEC? Is this regarding NextBridge? I would assume the SEC is so sick of listening to us that they're just gonna be like, we're gonna do something, and but what the announcement could be, I don't know. I mean, SEC could be like, you know what, screw you guys, you're not anything, fuck you, stock is deleted. Or, and then they could just face the wrath of 65,000 people calling them every day. Or it could be like, we're going to announce a settlement agreement, or we're going to announce 2 more days of trading, or something. The SEC is culpable in this because the SEC approved the S1, and the SEC approved the terms of it, and that seems to me a big thing. Like the Kabuki guy, whatever his name was, that was arguing that the other day on Twitter that FINRA was right in halting trading, and I ratioed that mofo like that, pointing out that if FINRA is right in halting the trade, because settlement would be an issue due to T+2, right? So if you bought after the 8th of December, it wouldn't settle in time by close of December 12th for you to get your shares. That was their argument. But as a result of having all these nakeds out there, all these counterfeit shares, settlement hasn't happened 63 days later. So that excuse doesn't hold water. Plus, if settlement was an issue for things like this, when Metamaterial and Torchlight were merging, right? Why did FINRA allow Torchlight to trade for 5 days after the date of record? So date of record and then traded for 5 more days, meaning those stocks could have gone anywhere. How do you ensure the settlement of the preferred shares with that happening, right? Same situation. It's a non-tradable stock. It's after the date of record, T+2. Now you're messing up a whole T+5 in there. There's no way that that's a good excuse. If you're willing to do it before, why aren't you willing to do it now, right? And that Kabuki guy, whatever his name is, couldn't answer me. And I pointed out that the brokers were going to position close only on the 9th. And I showed him an example. Like Fidelity, after close of trading on the 8th, there was position close only on their thing. You couldn't even call the fixed income people to buy. Nope, you can only sell. And I'd explained to him what position close only meant, and he's like, position close only happens under certain circumstances. And he's like, here, I'll post you an image from your favorite website, Robinhood, to show you. And he posts the image, and it says position close only can happen under certain circumstances, such as when a stock is going to stop trading, or if a corporate action has been released. And I was like, buddy, did you even read your thing? Like, A, a stock was going to stop trading, and B, a corporate action was released. And that's why all these brokers were going to go to position close only. And if you're position close only, you're not opening any new positions. Therefore, there's no settlement issues. All you're doing is deleting short positions from the market so that no new positions are open and everything gets settled at T+2 just fine. Just these bros, man. That's what I was trying to explain to Dave Lauer. And he was like fighting on me on it, and then he talked to Rosa, and Rosa finally was like, this is how it happens. And he was like, oh, okay. He finally got it. So he didn't quite get it from me. He understood her way more than he understood me. But, you know, PCO, baby, position close only. It happens. There's an entire market that's position close only, the expert market. If you own shit stocks, your Blockbusters, your Sears, your Lehman Brothers, whatever, it's all position close only. You can't open any new positions on it. It's been around for a year and a half. It exists. Meow meow. Do you think Gary Gensler is even aware of this? Does he even care? He has to be aware. There's no way you can get 4,000 complaints in like 5 days and not be like, no, somebody like, hey, Secretary Gensler, we're getting more complaints we've ever had about anything ever on this one stock no one's ever heard of. You'd think there'd be at least one phone call or meeting or email or something. But my guess is that someone says he ignores it. He probably ignores it. Hans. Sorry, I'm going to jump ahead here. Hans got his coordinates working. Control C. Okay. Okay, Hans. Get one more chance here. We're going to South America. We're going to the jungle. We're going to a city. What city is this? What city are we in here? I have no idea where we are, but we're going to this intersection. Did it happen? Where'd you go? There we go. Okay. Lovely. No trucks. Got clotheslines. Got some bros. We got. Can I go forward? Can I? Brilliant. Oh, that's great. What country are we in? Where are we? Where am I? We are in Vienna. Where's Vienna? Centro? What nation are we in? Brazil? Oh, we are in Brazil. Right close to Bolivia. I love it. All right. Good times. Thank you, Hans. I'm glad you got that sucker working. And then Dossier, in case it doesn't work, here's one for the kids. Okay. 560. Okay. Oops. Might as well do one more since this is the next doohickey. Boom. Going north. Going north. We're smacking into, are we Texas? Oh, we're GameStop corporate headquarters. Okay, there we go. Right next to the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Yeah, DFW. Want to look at the front? Should we look at the front, everybody? Bing. There it is. I mean, it looks like just a regular GameStop store in a strip mall. But a lot going on in there. All right. Groovy. Okay. Got 14 minutes left, folks. 14 minutes. So many arguments going on in the chat today. Kirk Wilson, Houston, please explain how you've obtained so much knowledge in banking, finance, stock market. Did you take classes or self-taught? I mean, I took like intro to business. Took a finance course, taken some economics courses. But for the most part, I just read everything. I read constantly. I read all day long. I'm reading, and I'm reading articles, reading books, I'm reading things you send me. I'm just reading. I read 8 hours a day is what I do. At least 8 hours a day I'm reading something. So it's what I do. I just read and I retain information. So that helps also. Um, I'm blessed in that I didn't suffer from a lot of childhood trauma. So I don't have like PTSD brain where like there's huge spaces that are blank. I remember like wearing diapers and being in a crib. I have very vivid memories going back to probably a year and a half old. I remember being potty trained. I remember like going through the steps, bathroom, learning how to potty train, the little toilet I was on. I remember it all. I remember individual lessons that I had in first grade. Um, I just retain that stuff, and I don't know why I retain that stuff. I just do. I wouldn't say I have like an eidetic or a photographic memory because there's things that you know. But you see me here when I can't remember like a Hollywood star's name. I'm trying to use an example. That stuff, I can miss things, but for the most part, the big picture is always there. Um, I can go back to specific days in my head in like fourth grade, third grade. Certain lesson plans, specific dates, events happened. It's weird, and I don't know why I can do that. It makes me really, 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 really good at pub trivia. I don't like. I've got. Let's see here. Where are you, some of you guys? I know. Oh, here we go. Is that? No, that's not. Oh yeah. So like, I've got just sitting around. I've got gift certificates to various breweries that I'll never use because I don't drink. At one point, I had like $600 in these things just sitting in drawers and stuff. Because I'll go to trivia, I'll win, and they give me a gift certificate. Sometimes they stop giving gift certificates and start giving me like sweatshirts and things because they're like, there's not enough Coca-Colas in the world in a restaurant for you to have. But yeah, you want me on your trivia team, that's for sure. That's my superpower. That's what I'm good at. Monkey butt knows, right? Yep. That's the side eye of a dog who knows. Okay. Um. Bill Varant, do you think aspartame, aspartame, it's that same thing. Aspartame is linked to dementia. I see studies both ways. I've seen some pretty freaky studies. About 15 years ago, and if you know what aspartame is, it's like equal NutraSweet, the fake non-sugar sweetener. It was originally found like put into Tab and soft drinks like that. It's in your Diet Cokes. Uh, there was a study done by a Florida doctor who treated Parkinson's patients, and he had his patients stop drinking Diet Coke, like stop taking sugar substitutes, and cut all the aspartame and aspartame out of your diet, and like a significant portion of them lost symptoms of their Parkinson's disease. There are studies showing that if you have like a warm Diet Coke, like it's been sitting in your car and it's like 90 degrees and the car warms up, and you drink that Diet Coke, that it becomes like a neurotoxin. I just in generally try to avoid fake sweeteners. I'm not super I'm still got a sweet tooth anyway. I like my sugar. It might make me diabetic someday, but at the moment, I'm not. uh, but I just avoid that stuff. I don't need it. Oh, cat's here. Hey, buddy, come on in. There you are. Come for the end of the show, my friend. We got 9 minutes left, and you can come on, say hi. Come on. Come on, bud. Come say hi. Yeah, there it is. There's a rockstar tail. Yeah. Scratch that butt. Little butt scratching right there. And international live streaming, and now you're in the way of the chat, cat, and you're moving the screen. There you go. Oh, you just killed. The cat just killed. He just killed the plug for the. Ah, man. Well, monkey cam is toast. It's now my shoulder because he just killed the monkey cam. Well, good job, cat. Good job. You and your face just killed it. All right, I'm going to scroll down here towards the bottom. Since we only got a few minutes left here. Chico Rico, happy birthday. Any idea what's happening with Sears? Still diamond hands. Also, are there really rocks that grow? Rocks that grow? I haven't heard of things about rocks that grow. I mean, if you add lava to rocks, I assume they can grow. The cameraman has arrived. Yes, you little guy. Breaking cameras. You're gonna lose your union job, buddy, if you keep breaking cameras like that. With Sears, there's something about announcement from the liquidators coming on like March 1st. See if there's anything pops up. Sears Hometown calls it quits, so that's pulling the plug after Chapter 11. Sears slowly disappears. Sears set to close the last remaining Maryland department store January 9th. Sears Corporation, Coal Administration, Chapman Sears Hometown closing. Sears out of bankruptcy and handful of stores are left. Sears closing 80 more stores. Never ending Sears saga. Nothing popping up. I thought there was something March 1st. Okay. Nope, not seeing anything here, but I thought there was something March 1st coming up, but I could be wrong. I'm sure if someone has anything about that, send it to me because I'm not finding it on my quick little Google search here. But, Sue Marshall, why'd Cromwell allow MMTLP to trade in his market in the first place? Does he have a guilty conscience now? Well, there was the 211 form, right? You got to fill out to get trading. And Cromwell said you didn't have to fill that out. But then what was the mechanism that allowed them to trade? If there's no form they had to fill out to do it, then how did they get it done? Like, what was the announcement? Who did they talk to? Right? And it appears that they filled out a form with FINRA to get it trade using falsified data from 2012, and possibly fake signatures from insiders of the company to get it trading. And FINRA went, oh, totally cool, fine, stamp. It's OTC, who gives a shit? And when the company itself went to FINRA and said, hey, this is supposed to trade, what are you doing? FINRA basically was like, yeah, too late, it's trading, what are you gonna do about it? So they were not doing their job as a regulator in any way, shape, or form. They really dropped the ball in every aspect along the way. They dropped the ball when it came to allowing it to trade for 5 days after the merger. They dropped the ball when it wasn't trading and allowed to trade. They dropped the ball when they stopped trading when it should have traded for 2 more days. So whatever it was along the way, they always did the thing that hurt the customer, the retail investor, the most when they could. Just crazy. Vegeta DeLuffy, Houston, does Rosa know about the Torchlight ticker on Robinhood? Yes. I've sent her it, and I think she got tagged in a couple of things too. So she's aware. She's just stuck in I think it's next week she has her Texas bar exam. So she is studying really hard right now, hoping to get through that and get past so she can continue her volunteer work in Texas. So Jay Houston, can stocks in companies that are still in business be held in the obligation warehouse, or only companies that are bankrupt? Apparently, all sorts of things can be held in the obligations warehouse. It sounds like they really want to push NextBridge into the obligations warehouse, and yeah. So I think there's lots of companies on the OTC, lots of shorted companies on NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, that have FTDs dancing around in the obligations warehouse. And they just live there now, I guess. I don't know. Sue Marshall. So MMTLP exists but can't be traded, and Torch can be traded but doesn't exist. Sounds about right. As succinct as it could possibly be right there. Yeah. uh, uh, Doser. Jordan Aruz, what do you think about the flying object aliens shot down in Alaska? Jordan, I have no idea what you're talking about. UFO shot down Alaska? US shoots down high altitude object over Alaska 1 hour ago. Well, heck. This happened while I was going live. Ugh, I'm already I'm already a subscriber. Washington Post, leave me alone. Sorry, one sec. Go away, Google Earth. Come to me, Washington Post. U.S. jet shoots down high altitude object over Alaska. Officials have not identified the craft's origin, but said it posed a threat to civilian or aircraft. Okay. A jet fighter shot down high altitude object in Alaska airspace Friday, marking the second such encounter in a week after plotting a cross-country flight by a suspected Chinese balloon. The latest object, which officials say they have not conclusively identified, was roughly the size of a car and much smaller than the Chinese airship shot down Saturday. They don't know the object origin, its capabilities, or what the craft was doing over U.S. airspace. Reuters said, noting it was the first detected by radar on Thursday. President Biden directed the strike, said John Kirby, the White House spokesman. The Pentagon had recommended downing the object because it was soaring at above 40,000 feet, potentially threatening civilian air traffic. It was downed over frozen waters off the coast of northeast Alaska, north of the Arctic Circle. Really high up, really far up there. We're still trying to learn more. I'll stress again, we don't know what entity owns this object. There's no identification. It's from a nation or institution or individual. Fighter aircraft dispatched on Friday when it was determined the craft did not have a pilot on board. They worked really hard to try and get as much information as they could about this object. It was difficult for the pilots to glean a whole lot of information. Shoot down on Friday was carried out by a pair of F-22 Raptors launched from Joint Base Emmeldorf-Richardson, Anchorage, with one of the advanced jets launching a single aim at 9X Sidewinder. Recovery operation underway, he added, with an array of aircraft responding. Among them, he said, is an HC-130 search and... Whoa, what? It's minus 20 degrees. We're trying to do the recovery. Oh. If you misbehave, ensign, you're going to be stationed in Alaska. And this guy's like, fuck. This can be doing cool stuff. In event, troops may have to use winches deployed from helicopters to collect debris if the ice deemed too unstable for people or aircraft to land. Okay, all right, kitty. We got space aliens, cat. Okay, this is rad. I wonder what kind of weird drone or whatever it is. What a way to end the show right there. How about that? Sue Vidadi, Houston, check out US dollar tether coin court case. USDT court. Tether says new court order to produce US tether backing. That's from September. Tether's attempt to block CoinDesk request for stablecoin reserve records dismissed by court. Oh, my guess is Tether's going to collapse, just like I said. What about that crystal ball, man? Yeah. Okay. Kitty, want to say goodbye to everybody? Bye-bye, everybody. I gotta go. Monkey Butt, will they settle MMTLP by the end of fiscal year? She's saying, yeah, man, it's gonna happen. All right. Okay. Have a great day. I might do a Twitch tonight as well, so look for that maybe around 10 p.m. Pacific time. If you're up for a late night GeoGuessr. And I'll see you all for that. Kitty cat. You want to say bye? Bye. I'm a monster. All right. Enjoy your night. I'll see you guys. Wait, click this thing. Get a special treat. Kitty nipples! Look at those nipples! Oh my gosh! It's been so long since